You've optimized everything. Your morning routine is down to a science. Wake at 5:47 a.m., not 5:45, not 6:00, 5:47, because that's when your sleep cycle naturally completes. Cold shower for exactly 3 minutes. Meditation app, 12 minutes, the premium tier with the neuroscience-backed soundscapes. Breakfast is meal prepped. Your commute is optimized for podcast consumption at 1.5 times speed. By 9 a.m., you've already accomplished more than most people do all day. Inbox processed. To-do list color-coded by priority matrix. Calendar blocked to the minute. You're a machine. A beautiful machine. So why do you feel hollow? Why does the thought of another productive day make you want to crawl back into bed? Why do you scroll social media for 40 minutes before starting work? Not because you enjoy it, but because you need to delay the efficiency. You used to have hobbies. Now you have side projects. You used to have friends. Now you have networking. You used to have interests. Now you have skills to monetize. You used to read for pleasure. Remember that? Just opening a book because it called to you? But now, if you read, it has to be high value, non-fiction, something that teaches you, something you can apply, something you can reference in meetings, or something you can post about. When was the last time you did something useless? Something that didn't make you better, smarter, more productive, more marketable, more optimized. Something that was just for its own sake. You can't remember, can you? Because somewhere along the way, maybe it was during that productivity course, or that self-help book, or that perfectly curated YouTube channel about maximizing your potential, you stopped being a person and became a system. And the tragedy is that the system works. You're accomplishing things. You're hitting targets. Your manager loves you. Your LinkedIn is thriving. But you feel like you're disappearing. This isn't burnout. Burnout has a certain drama to it. This is something quieter, something more insidious. This is what happens when efficiency becomes identity, when productivity becomes purpose. This is the tragedy of the efficient life. And it's not your fault, but it is killing you. Let's talk about how we got here. Because this didn't just happen. This was designed. The story starts, as so many modern tragedies do, with good intentions. Early 20th century, Frederick Winslow Taylor, an American mechanical engineer, looked at factory workers and thought, "We're doing this all wrong." Workers were messy, inconsistent. They took breaks when they felt like it. They worked at their own pace. They were human. So Taylor invented something called scientific management. He broke every job down into its smallest components. He timed every motion. He eliminated every unnecessary movement. He turned human labor into a mathematical equation. And it worked. Productivity exploded. Efficiency skyrocketed. Profit margins went through the roof. But here's what Taylor didn't account for. You can't optimize a soul. Now, for most of the 20th century, this kind of thinking was mostly contained to factories, assembly lines, manual labor. The people doing knowledge work, the artists, the thinkers, the professionals, they were mostly exempt. But then came the computer, the smartphone, the cloud, the app economy. And suddenly, everyone became a factory worker. Your attention became measurable. Your output became quantifiable. Your worth became a function of your productivity. And the same logic that optimized assembly lines got applied to everything. Email response times, meeting efficiency, content production rates, engagement metrics, time blocking, habit stacking, morning routines, evening routines, routines for your routines. We turned life itself into a production line. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han, who we've met before, calls this the violence of positivity. Han argues that we've moved from a society of prohibition to a society of achievement. In the old system, power said, "You must not, you shall not, you are forbidden." But in the achievement society, power says, "You can, you should, you have potential." It sounds so encouraging, so empowering. You can be anything you want. You just have to work for it. You just have to optimize. But here's the trap. In the old system, when you were told you must work from 9 to 5, at least you knew when you were done. You could go home. You could rest. The oppression was external. But in the achievement society, there is no done. There's always more potential to unlock, more skills to develop, more optimization to pursue. And the oppression is internal. You're doing it to yourself. You become both the master and the slave, the one exploiting and the one being exploited. And you can't even complain about it because you're empowered. Han introduces another concept, the burnout society. He argues that the depression, anxiety, and exhaustion epidemic we're seeing isn't a failure of individuals. It's a success of the system. The system needs you to be exhausted, because exhausted people don't question. They just keep pushing. The achievement society doesn't break you with force. It breaks you with freedom, with endless possibility, with the mandate to become the best version of yourself. And when you inevitably fail, because you can't optimize forever, you can't be productive every moment, you don't blame the system. You blame yourself. Now, let's bring in another voice. The sociologist Hartmut Rosa has a concept called social acceleration. Rosa argues that modern life is defined by 3 kinds of acceleration. 1. Technological acceleration. Things get faster. Cars, planes, internet, communication, processing speeds. 2. Social acceleration. Life changes faster. Jobs, relationships, cities, trends. What's relevant today is obsolete tomorrow. 3. The acceleration of the pace of life. You try to cram more into every moment. Multitasking, time blocking, optimizing, efficiency. And here's Rosa's key insight. We accelerate to save time, to create more time, to have time for what matters. But the acceleration itself consumes the time. You get faster, so you take on more. You optimize, so your capacity increases, so the expectations increase, so you optimize more. You're running faster and faster just to stay in place. And the things that make life meaningful, deep relationships, creative play, contemplation, rest, they can't be accelerated. They require time. Unstructured, inefficient, wasted time. But you don't have that anymore because you optimized it away. And here's where it gets truly tragic. Because efficiency isn't just changing what you do. It's changing who you are. The philosopher Martin Heidegger, writing in the 1920s before any of this, warned about what he called enframing, or Gestell in German. Heidegger argued that modern technology doesn't just give us new tools, it changes how we see the world. It turns everything, nature, objects, even people, into standing reserve, into resources to be optimized and exploited. A forest isn't a forest anymore. It's timber supply. A river isn't a river. It's hydroelectric potential. A person isn't a person. They're human capital. And when you live in a world of standing reserve, when everything is a resource to be optimized, you become a resource too. You're not a person with a life. You're a productivity system to be hacked, a set of metrics to be improved, a biological machine to be upgraded. And the tragedy? You don't even notice it happening, because everyone around you is doing the same thing. Because the language of efficiency is everywhere. Because it's just normal. You forgot what it feels like to just be. Okay, so you're efficient, you're optimized, you're a high-functioning productivity machine, and you're miserable. So what now? What do you do when you realize that the thing you thought was the solution, the optimization, the efficiency, the hustle, is actually the problem? Because you can't just stop, right? You have responsibilities, bills, obligations, a life that requires you to function at this level. And besides, even if you could stop, who would you be without the productivity? What would you do with unstructured time? The thought is almost terrifying. This is the trap within the trap. You're not just addicted to productivity, you've forgotten how to exist without it. And that's the tragedy. So let's talk about what we've lost, because you can't recover something if you don't know it's missing. The German sociologist Joseph Pieper wrote a book in 1948 called Leisure, the Basis of Culture. And his central argument was radical. Work is not the foundation of human flourishing. Leisure is. Not leisure as in vacation or entertainment or scrolling TikTok to decompress, but leisure as in time that has no purpose. Pieper argues that true culture, art, philosophy, science, even religion, all emerge from leisure. From moments when humans aren't trying to accomplish anything, when they're just contemplating, wondering, playing. But in a culture of total work, which is what we have now, leisure becomes impossible. Because even our free time is colonized by the logic of productivity. You don't rest, you recover so you can work better. You don't play. You engage in strategic recreational activities to maintain work-life balance. You don't contemplate. You consume content to stay informed and relevant. Everything becomes instrumental. Everything serves the work. And the self? The soul? The part of you that exists independent of your output? It starves. The philosopher Simone Weil, a French mystic and activist, had a concept she called attention. For Weil, attention wasn't just focus or concentration. It was a moral and spiritual practice. It was the ability to be present to reality, to another person, to beauty, to suffering, without trying to use it for anything. True attention, she argued, requires that you suspend your own goals, your own agenda, your own needs. You have to let the thing be what it is, not what you want it to be. And this kind of attention, it's impossible in the efficient life. Because efficiency demands that everything serve a purpose, that every moment be used, that every experience be optimized for value extraction. You can't just look at the sunset, you have to photograph it. You can't just have a conversation, you have to network. You can't just read a book, you have to extract insights you can apply. You've lost the capacity for useless attention, for being present to something just because it's there. And without that, you're not fully human anymore. You're just a machine that happens to have feelings. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the solution to this isn't just do less or slow down or take a vacation. The solution is remembering how to waste time. I don't mean scrolling your phone. I don't mean binging Netflix. I don't mean self-care that's really just more optimization disguised as rest. I mean doing things that serve no purpose whatsoever. Walking with no destination. Reading without taking notes. Staring out the window, having a conversation that goes nowhere, making something that no one will ever see. These aren't distractions from your real life. These are your real life. The efficient stuff, the productivity, that's the distraction. That's what the system convinced you was important. But it's not. What's important is the part of you that exists when you're not doing anything, when you're not optimizing, performing, or producing. That part, that's your soul, and it's been starving. The philosopher Albert Borgman has a concept called focal practices. Focal practices are activities that resist the logic of efficiency. They're things that can't be optimized without destroying what makes them valuable. Cooking a meal from scratch, not for the nutrition metrics, but for the ritual of it. Playing a musical instrument badly. Tending a garden. Having dinner with friends that lasts for hours and accomplishes nothing except connection. These practices are inefficient by design. They take time. They require presence. They don't scale. They can't be automated. And that's precisely what makes them sacred. Because they remind you that you're not a system, you're a person. And persons don't optimize. They live. But here's the hard part, the part no one wants to hear. To reclaim your soul from the efficiency trap, you're going to have to be okay with being less productive, with achieving less, with disappointing people, with not maximizing your potential. You're going to have to choose the soul over the system, and the system will punish you for it. All right, let's get specific, because I can feel some of you panicking right now. Great, so I'm supposed to just stop being productive? How do I pay rent? How do I keep my job? I get it. I'm not suggesting you quit your job and become a monk. I'm suggesting something more subtle, more subversive. I'm suggesting you become strategically inefficient. Here's what that means. 1. Protect the useless. You need to actively, aggressively defend time that has no purpose. And I mean literally put it on your calendar. Block it out like it's a meeting. Call it whatever you want. Deep work, strategic thinking time, personal development, whatever language makes it seem legitimate. But when that time comes, don't use it for work. Don't use it for optimization. Use it for nothing. Sit in a park, take a bath, lie on the floor and stare at the ceiling. Read a novel that has nothing to do with your field. Draw something, badly. Who cares? The point isn't what you do. The point is that you exist outside the logic of productivity for a while. That you remember what it feels like to just be. 2. Embrace incompletion. The efficient life demands closure. Inbox 0, all tasks completed, all boxes checked. The problem is, life isn't like that. Life is perpetually incomplete. So stop trying to finish everything. Leave some emails unanswered. Leave some projects half done. Let some things fall through the cracks. I know this feels horrible. Your brain is screaming right now. But here's the truth. Most of what you're frantically completing, it doesn't actually matter. You just think it does because the system told you it does. So practice letting go. Practice saying, this is incomplete, and that's okay. Practice being a person who doesn't have it all together. Because people who have it all together, they're not people anymore. They're systems. 3. Rediscover boredom. You're never bored anymore, are you? Because the moment you have nothing to do, you reach for your phone. You scroll, you consume, you fill the gap. But boredom isn't a problem. It's a signal. It's your psyche saying, hello, anyone home? Remember me? The psychoanalyst Adam Phillips argues that boredom is essential for creativity, for self-discovery, for being. Because when you're bored, you're forced to generate something from within rather than just consuming from without. So, get bored. Deliberately. Sit with it. Don't fix it. Don't optimize it away. Just let it be. And see what happens. See what emerges when you're not constantly medicating the emptiness with productivity. 4. Do something badly. Find something you're not good at. Something you have no natural talent for. Something that will never be monetizable or impressive. Learn to paint. Badly. Take up an instrument. Sound terrible. Try to write poetry. Make it cringeworthy. The point is, remember what it feels like to do something for its own sake. Not to get better. Not to achieve mastery. Not to have something to show for it. Just because it's interesting, or fun, or pointless. This is deeply uncomfortable for the efficient person. Because you're not good at it. You're not optimizing. You're not progressing toward a goal. You're just playing. Like a child. Like a human. And that's the antidote. You have a finite number of hours on this planet. And the question isn't how many tasks can I complete, or how much can I accomplish, or how optimized can I become. The question is, what did it feel like to be alive? Did you feel it? The sun on your face, the taste of good food, the sound of someone laughing, the satisfaction of creating something for no reason? Or were you too busy optimizing? Because you can be the most productive person in the world. You can have the perfect morning routine, the ideal time blocking system, the optimized everything. And still arrive at the end having never actually lived. The tragedy of the efficient life isn't that you don't accomplish things. It's that you accomplish everything, except becoming a person. You've optimized your schedule, your habits, your routines, your existence. You've turned yourself into a beautiful, efficient machine. But machines don't have souls. And somewhere along the way, you lost yours. And I'm not blaming you. I'm really not. You were taught this. You were rewarded for it. The system wants efficient people, productive people, optimized people. The system does not want people who waste time, who contemplate, who exist for their own sake. Because people like that, they ask questions. They resist. They remember that life is supposed to be more than this. So here's what I want you to understand. Inefficiency is not a failing. It's an act of resistance. Every moment you spend doing something useless, something that doesn't make you better, smarter, richer, more productive, is a moment you're reclaiming yourself from the system. Every time you're bored and don't reach for your phone, you're practicing being human. Every time you do something badly, just for fun, you're remembering that you're not just a productivity unit. You're a soul. A weird, messy, inefficient soul. And that soul, it's been waiting for you. Waiting for you to remember it exists. Waiting for you to come back. So come back. Put down the optimization app. Close the productivity planner. Turn off the time tracker. And just waste some time. Not as a break before getting back to the real work, but as the real work itself. Because the real work, the only work that actually matters, is learning how to be alive. Not productive, not efficient, not optimized. Just alive. Your soul is still there, under all the productivity, under all the efficiency, under all the optimization. It's still there, waiting.